What if the greatest power in the world isn't the ability to influence others, but the ability to be completely uninfluenced by them? Think about that for a moment. We are taught to seek influence, to build status, to control our environment. But we neglect the one domain we have absolute authority over, our own mind. This video is about activating a state that can only be described as a God mode for your inner world. It's a state of profound indifference to negativity, insults, and external chaos. This isn't about becoming a cold, emotionless machine. That's a common and deeply flawed misunderstanding. This is about accessing a hidden truth that 99% of men will simply never grasp. A truth about where real power comes from. Before we begin, I want you to answer one question in the comments. How many times in the last month has someone else's opinion or a single negative comment stolen your peace? Be honest. Now let's begin. The modern man is under siege, not by armies, but by opinions, by notifications, by the constant silent judgment of a digital world that never sleeps. Every day you are bombarded with external metrics designed to tell you what you are worth. Likes, follows, comments, the approval of your boss, the perception of your peers. This environment is engineered to create emotional fragility. It makes you a slave to validation from sources you don't control. And this is the core of the problem. We have forgotten that Stoicism was never about enduring hardship in ancient Rome. It was, and is, a combat-ready operating system for the mind, designed to protect its sovereignty against external invasion. The context has changed, but the threat has not. The threat is a world that wants to dictate your emotional state. Today, we are not just talking about philosophy, we are talking about psychological warfare, and you are going to learn how to win. The first step in this mental upgrade is a radical redefinition of the battlefield. Most men believe the fight is out there. They think the struggle is with their critics, their rivals, or their circumstances. This is the single greatest mistake, the one that keeps them weak and reactive. The Stoic in God mode understands the truth. The only real battle is internal. Everything that happens outside of you, an insult from a colleague, a negative comment online, a project that fails, is not inherently good or bad. It is simply data, neutral information. It is your internal judgment, your perception, that assigns it a value. It is your mind that labels it painful, disrespectful, or a failure. The man who fights the external event is fighting a phantom. The man who masters his internal judgment, he becomes untouchable. He realizes that nothing out there can harm him without his own mind's permission. This is the first key to the kingdom. You must stop fighting the world and start mastering your interpretation of it. This leads us to the core operating principle of Stoicism, the one rule that, if truly understood, makes all the others fall into place. It's called the dichotomy of control. It is brutally simple, yet its implications are profound. The principle states that some things are within our control, and some things are not. That's it. Within your control are your thoughts, your judgments, your actions, your character. Outside of your control is everything else. The weather, the economy, traffic, and most importantly, what other people think, say, or do. The average man spends 99% of his energy trying to control what is uncontrollable. He is furious about the traffic. He is anxious about what others think of him. He is frustrated by events that are completely outside his power. The Stoic, however, performs a mental shift. He consciously and deliberately focuses 100% of his energy on the tiny circle of things he can control. His response, his integrity, his mindset. This isn't passive. It is the ultimate strategic allocation of energy. Why waste a single joule of mental power on things you cannot change? This is not just a philosophy. It is the most efficient system for personal power ever devised. Let's dismantle a pervasive myth right now. The myth that Stoicism is about being emotionless. that a Stoic man is a cold, unfeeling robot who suppresses all his feelings. This is a complete and dangerous misinterpretation. It's what leads men to failure when they try to apply these principles. True Stoicism is not about the absence of emotion. It is about the non-submission to emotion. You will still feel anger. You will still feel frustration. You will still feel the initial sting of an insult. These are natural, precognitive reactions. The difference is what happens next. The untrained mind is hijacked by that initial feeling. The anger dictates the response. The sting of the insult dictates the mood for the rest of the day. The Stoic mind, however, observes the emotion. It acknowledges it, like a passing cloud in the sky. It says, "Ah, there is anger," but it does not grant that anger the power to pilot the ship. It maintains control of the rudder. The goal is not to feel nothing. The goal is to ensure that your actions are governed by reason and virtue, not by a fleeting, turbulent emotion. Let's get tactical. An insult is thrown your way. You're not smart enough for this role. How do you activate God mode? You must understand the power of perception. The ancient Stoics had a phrase, "It is not things that disturb us, but our judgments about things." The words, "You're not smart enough," are just vibrations in the air. They are data. They have no inherent power. The power comes from the story you attach to them. The untrained mind immediately creates a narrative. He's right. I'm an imposter. I'm going to fail. This is a disaster. This narrative is the source of the pain, not the words themselves. The Stoic mind practices a technique called cognitive distancing. It looks at the words and analyzes them as a neutral observer. He has expressed an opinion based on his limited data. This opinion is external to me. Does it contain useful feedback? No. Then it is irrelevant data. You strip the insult of its narrative power. You see it for what it is, noise, and you choose not to let that noise become a signal in your operating system. This is a skill. It requires practice, like lifting weights. Each time you refuse to internalize an insult, you are performing a rep for your mental fortitude. To build on this, we can employ a powerful mental model known as the view from above. This is a visualization technique designed to instantly shrink your problems. When you feel the sting of an insult or the weight of a negative situation, close your eyes for a moment. Imagine you are floating up, out of your body. Rise above the room, then the building, then the city. See your country as a patch on the globe. Float higher still, past the moon, watching the earth become a small blue marble. From this cosmic perspective, look back at the situation. That person who insulted you, a tiny fleeting speck on a speck, orbiting a medium-sized star in a vast, silent galaxy. Their words, an insignificant vibration in an ocean of cosmic time. This is not meant to make you feel nihilistic. It is designed to give you perspective. The things that we allow to consume us are, in the grand scheme of things, profoundly trivial. Practicing this view from above recalibrates your emotional scale. It makes it almost impossible to give petty slights and minor setbacks the power to derail your internal state. You see the absurdity in letting such a small thing disturb such a vast inner peace. While the view from above helps you shrink problems in the moment, another core Stoic practice prepares you for them in advance. This is the concept of negative visualization, or premeditatio malorum. This is often misunderstood as simple pessimism. It is not. It is a strategic psychological inoculation. Most people live in a state of fragile hope, praying that nothing goes wrong. As a result, when something inevitably does go wrong, they are emotionally shattered. The Stoic does the opposite. In the morning, for a few minutes, he calmly contemplates the things that could go wrong during the day. He might be criticized in a meeting. He might face an unexpected obstacle. He might be treated unfairly. He doesn't dwell on these things with fear or anxiety. Instead, he rehearses his ideal response. If I am criticized, I will not become defensive. I will listen for any truth and discard the rest. My tranquility will not be dependent on the approval of others. By pre-visualizing these events, you strip them of their power to shock you. When the negative event occurs, your mind recognizes it and says, I have prepared for this. It's no longer a crisis. It's a scenario for which you have a protocol. You are transforming potential trauma into a training simulation. The ultimate goal of these practices is to construct what the Stoics called the inner citadel. This is the most powerful metaphor for mental resilience. Imagine your mind as a fortress. The walls are thick and high. Inside this fortress is your true self, your reason, your character, your peace. Outside the walls, the world rages on. The armies of insults, negativity, misfortune, and other people's opinions lay siege to it constantly. The untrained man leaves the gates of his fortress wide open. Any stray arrow, any single attacker can rush in and cause chaos in the throne room. He is constantly in a state of internal turmoil. The practicing Stoic, however, is a master architect and commander of his citadel. He spends his days reinforcing the walls, training his guards, his judgments, and securing his supplies, his inner values. He knows that he cannot stop the armies from appearing on the horizon. But he also knows that they cannot breach the walls unless he lowers the drawbridge himself. Your emotional reactions are that drawbridge. By choosing not to react, by choosing indifference, you keep the chaos of the world where it belongs, outside. How do you build this citadel practically? One of the most effective yet overlooked tools is a specific kind of journaling. This is not a diary for you to vent your feelings. A Stoic journal is a commander's logbook. It's an analytical tool for nightly review. Before you sleep, you open the logbook and analyze the day with a few simple questions. What did I do poorly today in relation to my own principles? What did I do well? What external events tempted me to lose my calm? And how did I respond? How can I respond more wisely tomorrow? This isn't about self-criticism. It's about data analysis. You are studying your own performance, identifying bugs in your mental code, and planning the next day's software patch. You might notice a pattern. Every time this specific person speaks, I feel a surge of anger. The journal is where you strategize. Tomorrow, when I interact with them, my goal is not to win the argument, but to maintain my equanimity. This practice transforms your life from a series of random emotional reactions into a conscious, deliberate project of self-mastery. To truly become indifferent to insults, you must understand the psychology of the person who delivers them. An insult is rarely about you. It is almost always a projection of the insulter's own inner state, their insecurity, their jealousy, their frustration, their own perceived lack of control. As Marcus Aurelius would say, when someone does wrong, they have wronged themselves. A person who is secure, virtuous, and in control of their own mind has no need to belittle others. They operate from a place of sufficiency, not lack. When you understand this, the entire dynamic shifts. An insult is no longer an arrow aimed at your heart. It becomes a diagnostic tool. You look at the person and think, this person is clearly in pain. They are revealing their own weakness to me. This immediately triggers not anger, but a sense of dispassionate pity, or at the very least, clinical detachment. Their words are a symptom of their own disease, not a verdict on your worth. You are no longer the target. You are the observer of a psychological phenomenon. This perspective makes it almost impossible to take the insult personally. Let's deconstruct an insult at the molecular level. Imagine the insult is a package delivered to your door. You have three choices. 1. You can immediately rip it open, consume its contents, and get sick from the poison inside. This is the reactive approach. 2. You can refuse the package. You can simply say, I'm not accepting this, and leave it on the doorstep. This is the path of indifference. 3. You can accept the package but take it to your laboratory to analyze it. This is the analytical Stoic approach. You open it carefully. You separate the words, the data, from the emotional venom they are coated in. You ask, Is there any objective truth in this statement that I can use to improve myself? If someone says, "Your presentation was sloppy," the venom is the tone, the intent to harm. But the data might be a useful signal that you need to proofread your slides more carefully. The Stoic absorbs the useful data and discards the emotional poison. 99% of the time, an insult contains zero useful data. In that case, you observe it, acknowledge it as empty, and discard the entire package. You are in complete control of what you internalize. One of the greatest traps for the aspiring strongman is the desire to win every argument, to clap back at every insult. Our culture celebrates the witty comeback, the devastating rebuttal. But the Stoic understands that engaging in this game is, in itself, a loss. The moment you invest emotional energy in crafting a reply to an insult, you have signaled that the insult had value. You have let the other person set the terms of the engagement. You have descended to their level. The true win, the ultimate power move, is a calm, centered indifference. It is a response that communicates, "Your words have no currency here. They cannot purchase my attention or my peace." This can be a simple calm silence. It can be a slight nod and a change of subject. It is an act that completely short-circuits the insulter's entire goal. Their goal is to provoke an emotional reaction. When you provide none, their power dissolves. They are left holding a weapon that has no effect. This isn't weakness. It is the highest form of psychological dominance. Underlying all of this is a fundamental principle. Seeking external approval is the ultimate weakness. The man who needs others to validate his worth, his intelligence, or his strength has handed the keys to his happiness over to a crowd of strangers. He becomes a puppet, and their opinions are the strings. His mood soars with praise and plummets with criticism. He is not free. The Stoic God mode is achieved when you fundamentally sever this dependency. It is the realization that your self-worth is non-negotiable and is generated internally. It is based on your character, your actions, and your adherence to your own virtues, the only things you fully control. When your sense of value comes from within, the praise of others becomes pleasant but unnecessary, and their criticism becomes irrelevant noise. You become your own source of validation. This is the foundation of the inner citadel. Without it, the walls are made of paper. With it, they are made of granite. Let's turn these concepts into daily drills. True strength is built through consistent practice, not passive understanding. The first drill is the morning meditation. This is not about emptying your mind. It is about programming it. For 5 minutes each morning, you set your intention for the day. You might say to yourself, "Today, I will encounter people and events. Some will be pleasant, some will be unpleasant. My goal is not to control these events, but to maintain control of my reasoned choice. I will treat everyone with justice and kindness, but I will not allow their actions or opinions to disturb my inner tranquility. My peace is my highest value, and I will not trade it for anything outside of my control." By setting this intention, you are priming your brain. You are giving your subconscious mind its marching orders for the day. You are preloading the God mode software before you even step into the battlefield of your day. The second drill is a form of mental sparring. Just as a fighter spars to prepare for a real fight, you must spar with potential insults to prepare for their emotional impact. This is a private exercise. In your mind, imagine someone you know, or even a stranger, throwing the worst possible insults at you. Things that target your deepest insecurities. Instead of reacting with anger or shame, practice the techniques we've discussed. Practice cognitive distancing. Observe the words as neutral data. Practice the view from above to shrink their significance. Practice analysing the insulter's likely psychological state. Do this for a few minutes. It might feel uncomfortable at first, but what you are doing is building calluses on your mind. You are desensitizing yourself to the shock of the attack, so when a real insult comes, your mind doesn't freeze or panic. It recognizes the pattern and automatically runs the Stoic protocol you've trained it to execute. The third and perhaps most critical drill in real-time situations is cultivating the power of the pause, the moment between a trigger, an insult, a negative event, and your response is where your freedom lies. For the untrained mind, that space is infinitesimally small. The trigger and the reaction are almost simultaneous. The goal of this drill is to consciously widen that space. When you feel that flash of anger or the sting of a remark, your only job is to do one thing: pause. Take a deliberate, slow breath. This single action interrupts the primal, emotional hijack of your brain. It engages your prefrontal cortex, the seat of reason and logic. In that 1-second pause, you can ask yourself, is reacting emotionally aligned with the man I want to be? What is the most strategic, virtuous response here? 99% of the time, the answer will be calm indifference. The pause is a circuit breaker. It is the single most powerful tool for moving from a reactive state to a responsive one. A final, practical strategy is to consciously choose your tribe. While a Stoic can maintain his calm in any environment, it is simply more efficient to surround yourself with people who operate on a similar frequency. As Seneca said, associate with people who are likely to improve you. Seek out men and women who value substance over ego, who discuss ideas instead of people, and who build each other up instead of tearing each other down. When your inner circle is strong, when it is composed of people who challenge you intellectually and support you virtuously, the noise from the outside world fades in significance. Their respect, which is earned through your character, becomes the only social feedback that matters. This is not about creating an echo chamber. It is about creating a training ground, a place where your Stoic principles are reinforced, not constantly under attack. Your social environment is either a headwind or a tailwind to your self-mastery. Choose wisely. So what does this God mode actually feel like when it's activated? It is not a feeling of emptiness or detachment from life. On the contrary, it is a feeling of profound engagement with what truly matters. It is a state of calm, centered power. Imagine walking through a storm. The wind is howling, the rain is lashing down, others are running for cover, panicking. But you are in the eye of the hurricane. You see the chaos, you acknowledge it, but you are not touched by it. You move with purpose and clarity. It's the ability to perform at your peak under pressure, because your emotional energy is not being wasted on managing internal turmoil. It's the freedom of knowing that your day will not be ruined by a careless comment from a stranger. It is a quiet, unshakable confidence that comes not from arrogance, but from a deep, internal stability. It is the feeling of being the master of your own soul. It is crucial now to make a clear distinction between Stoic indifference and simple apathy. This is a point of confusion that derails many. Apathy is a state of numbness. It is a lack of care about anything. The apathetic person says, "Nothing matters, so I won't even try." It is a philosophy of weakness and resignation. Stoic indifference, on the other hand, is a highly strategic and active state. It is a deliberate choice of focus. The Stoic cares deeply. He cares with all his heart about the things he can control: his character, his duties, his impact on the world. He is indifferent only to the things he cannot control. It is not that he doesn't care if his business fails. It's that he focuses all his energy on making the best possible effort and is indifferent to the final outcome, which is subject to external factors. Indifference is not a blanket of numbness. It is a laser-like focus of your care and energy onto what truly matters. We are arriving at the core of this transformation. The activation of God mode is complete when you achieve the ultimate freedom, the knowledge that your self-worth is 100% internally sourced and non-negotiable. It is not granted by your boss, your partner, your social media followers, or your bank account. It is defined, built, and maintained by you alone. It is forged in the fires of your discipline, your integrity, and your commitment to virtue. When you reach this point, the entire game of life changes. You no longer seek praise because you do not need it. You no longer fear criticism because it is irrelevant to your self-assessment. You act with courage because your fear of failure is replaced by your commitment to effort. You are playing a different game than everyone else. They are playing for external points on a scoreboard. You are playing for the internal victory of living in accordance with your own highest principles. Finally, understand the ripple effect of this state. When you become a man who is indifferent to negativity and emotionally self-reliant, you don't just change your own life, you change the world around you. People are drawn to stability. They are drawn to strength. Your calm becomes a source of strength for others. Your lack of reaction in a crisis makes you a natural leader. Your refusal to engage in petty arguments elevates your status more than any witty comeback ever could. People begin to realize that their usual tools of emotional manipulation, praise, criticism, gossip, have no effect on you. This grants you a form of power that is both subtle and immense. You become a rock in the middle of a raging river. You influence your environment not by trying to control it, but by mastering yourself. This is the great paradox. The less you need from the world, the more it will have to offer you. This is the reality of the Stoic God mode. You have just been given the blueprint. We've journeyed from understanding the true battlefield of the mind to building the walls of your inner citadel. We've learned to see insults not as attacks, but as data, and to transform emotional reaction into strategic response. The central, undeniable truth is this: true power is not in your ability to strike back. It is in your choice not to be struck. Your invincibility lies in your refusal to be emotionally wounded by that which is outside your control. You now hold the key to this mental fortress. The door is right in front of you. Most men will see it, hesitate and walk past, choosing the familiar comfort of their emotional chains. But you are not most men. You are here because you are ready for the upgrade. Thank you for your time and your intellectual focus. If this framework resonated with you, subscribe to join the 1% of men committed to this path. And click the bell so you do not miss the next step in your evolution. Now, for your first act of conscious choice, tell me in the comments, what is the one insult or piece of negativity you will choose to become indifferent to, starting today?